Chapter 15, The Jester of Littlebury. Sometimes it takes hardship and misfortune to weave people and places together in just the right way. Sometimes it isn't until one is lost that the perfect path is found. Diggory Beale did not know this yet, but he was about to find out. As he and Cubby sat on a doorstep, two boys hurtled toward them. Their eyes were wild and desperate. "Here, Cockroach, catch! Have a little present," one boy shouted as he shoved a large birdcage onto Cubby's lap and ran away. Stunned, Diggory and Cubby stared down at the gilded cage and the large, beautiful bird inside of it. Scuppered again," the bird cried, flapping his brilliant blue wings. "Thundering gales," Cubby gasped. "'Tis a parrot." "It is indeed," Diggory said, "but what are we to do with it?" "He said it was a present," said Cubby. Both boys stared at the parrot. The bird stared back with its beady black eyes. "Ain't he the most beautiful bird you've ever seen?" Cubby cried. "But why would they give him to us?" Diggory wondered out loud. But before he could wonder too long, his question was answered. "There they are, Constable," a trim man with a face like a weasel shouted. "There's my parrot and the little thieves what stole him from me." The next moment he snatched the birdcage from Cubby's lap. Meanwhile, the constable, a beefy-faced man in a blue coat, grabbed Diggory by the arm and yanked him off the steps. "The jig is up now," the constable growled. "You'll answer for this." "But we've done you no wrong, sir," Diggory protested. "Why, you brassy little thief," the man shouted, boxing his ears. "Dare you lie to the law after I've caught you with the stolen goods right in your hands? Give over your names, and be quick about it." "Beale, sir. Diggory and Cubby Beale, from the village of Mousehole," Diggory told him. "But I pray you, sir—" "Save your prayers for your maker," the constable snapped. "I dare say you'll be meeting him soon enough, for we'll not abide thievery in Plymouth Town. Many have swung for stealing less." Diggory's mind raced back to Ross's warning and the story of the 9-year-old girl who lost her life for stealing a lace collar. He had meant to stay clear of trouble, but how was he to avoid it when trouble was thrown into their laps? Before Diggory could protest further, the constable called for some rope from a nearby shop. He quickly bound Diggory's hands in front of him. Another rope was tied around his neck. Cubby was similarly trussed, and the two were pulled down the street for all to see and jeer at. The coarse rope cut into Diggory's neck as he was jerked forward. Fishbone ran out from behind a stall and followed. "What have you there, constable?" called a man holding a long black eel over a barrel. "Pair of thieves," the constable's deep voice boomed. "Beale's the name." "Thieving Beale brats," a woman hissed from an oyster stall. Someone threw a rotten fish. It hit the side of Diggory's head. His face burned with shame at the howls of laughter that followed, and at hearing his family name so disgraced. "We are not thieves," Diggory cried as he stumbled forward. "On my honor, we are not. The boys you seek ran past us. You mistake us, sirs. You mistake us." "Save your lies for your trial," the bird seller shot back. "But we are innocent," Cubby protested. "Oh, aye, 'tis what they all say," the constable said over his shoulder. "Until they reach the gallows, that is. Then they sing a different tune. There's no better remedy for unloosening the truth than making the acquaintance of the hangman." Diggory could hardly believe what he was hearing. This day was even worse than his nightmare. "And just what crime is it that warrants this meeting with the hangman?" someone shouted from the crowd. Diggory instantly recognized the voice. It was the gentleman who had rescued them from the innkeeper at the King's Arms. "Stealing, sir," the constable answered. "Caught the little rogues with the stolen goods on 'em." "Thieving the little vermin," the weasel-faced bird seller added, holding up the cage. "Lifted it from me cart while I was waiting on a customer." "Refused to admit their guilt," the constable continued. "Born and bred for the gallows, no doubt." The gentleman glared at the constable. "You'd see them hanged for this minor business?" "Just doing my duty, sir," the constable replied. Protecting the good folk of Plymouth Town." "What price?" the gentleman demanded, turning to the bird seller. "Price?" repeated the bird seller, his weasel lips forming a greedy smile. "For both the bird and cage?" "For the bird, the cage, and the boy's freedom," the gentleman said. "Drop your charges, and I will purchase these goods for double their worth." He turned to the constable. "Is my proposal agreeable?" The constable shrugged. Seems foolish to bother with such rabble, sir, but then 'tis not for me to say. If the bird seller makes no complaint, then there can be no charge, though I'd feel uneasy releasing such rascals back onto the street. Release them into my custody, then, the gentleman said, and I shall vouch for their actions. I am leaving for Essex this day, and will find work for them on my estate. And your name, sir? The constable asked. Henry Winstanley, squire. Oh, my word! Master Winstanley of Littlebury himself, the constable bowed, and a great honor it is to meet you, sir. Why, all of Plymouth is blessed by your work, and I'm most happy to help, I'm sure. Diggory stared at his rescuer. Why would this Squire Winstanley be willing to buy them their freedom? Double, you say? The bird seller piped up. Why, to be fair, the parrot is most rare. His wings are clipped, and he makes fancy speech with little prompting. He shook the cage, and the bird squawked loudly, Nincompoop of the Mitson, nincompoop of the Mitson. Has a bit of a salty tongue on him, the bird seller said, his narrow eyes crinkling. Spent a good deal of time at sea. Favored the mizzenmast, he did, but he can talk pretty when he wants to. How much? Henry Winstanley snapped impatiently. The bird seller sucked in his thin lips. I should be giving him away if I let him go for any less than 6 shillings, and you did say double. 12 it is, then. Now unbind them, Henry Winstanley ordered. The constable hurried to untie Diggory's hands. You can count your lucky stars that the squire here has taken pity on your sorry souls. You're to be in his custody now, but if I hear that you've given him any trouble at all, you'll soon find yourselves in the hemp necklace you were born to wear. Diggory brought his hand to his throat, for he knew the hemp necklace the constable spoke of was the hangman's noose. Into the custody of the jester of Littlebury. Now there's a strange twist of fate for you, the bird seller muttered as he counted out his coins. Diggory stole a glance at his new master. Why had the bird seller called him a jester? And what did he mean by a strange twist of fate? As Diggory pondered these words, Henry Winstanley's dark eyes caught his own, and he smiled a most peculiar smile.